Hey guys, what's going on? How's everybody doing? This is Adrian and you're listening to the Stonerd Podcast. Thanks for coming back once again for one more episode. Look at you guys. You guys are actually showing up. Thanks so much. I appreciate it. And let's jump into the episode breakdown. We'll be talking about ants. Yeah, the insect. Then we're going to talk about prayer. But take it easy. This is not a religion-inclined podcast. So don't worry. And then we're going to wrap it up. How about that? Let's jump into it. So I was on my way to work this morning. Still tired, still half asleep. Because I went to bed late and then got up early to go to work. And I was just full on autopilot. Totally zoned out. And it didn't help that I was listening to Joe Rogan and Mike Tyson's talk about mushrooms. And how they will go into a trance and, another dimension. And I'm like, oh, geez, this is all I need. I'm already feel like I'm in another dimension. It's I don't know about you guys, but have you been in a situation where you are driving someplace and your brain just goes off and then you come back into yourself? And by the time you come back into reality, you're in the place already. And then you start wondering, how the hell did I get here? I don't remember driving here. I just remember I got in the car and now I'm here. Well, something similar to that was happening to me. It actually happens quite often. And I wasn't paying attention to the driving. I was just kind of listening to the podcast. For a minute there, I started thinking, wait, I should probably focus more. I remember having that thought, you should probably focus more on the street. Not that I was doing something that would take my attention away from the road, because both my hands were on the wheel. I was looking forward, but my brain was on autopilot. I wasn't really taking information in from the road. I was just kind of facing forward with my feet on the gas. Which is fucking weird. If something were to come at me, an animal, a deer, or maybe a car who just went into my lane and it caught me by surprise, I probably would be in a bad crash because I wasn't really focusing the way I should be focusing. But yeah, they were talking about how when you eat mushrooms, there is another reality, that this is not the real thing, and that there is another dimension that you can go to, and that this dimension that they speak about could be another place where you go once you're dead. And I'm like, oh God, here we go. Because the thing with Joe Rogan is that he loves mushrooms. He's kind of the new ambassador of mushrooms. And the mushrooms are the next best thing. Now, taking in consideration that I haven't had any mushrooms ever in my life. But I feel for you to enjoy mushrooms, you need your brain to be the vehicle that takes you there. And once you die, your brain dies, and now you lose access to that dimension. So I just don't think that this dimension is something tangible that you can go there after you die. I think that it is something, I think that is a dimension that you experience thanks to the power of your brain and using your brain as a vehicle to take you there. But I really don't think you can get there once you're dead. But who knows, again, because I don't want to do the same thing that I'm accusing them of doing. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what happens. Who knows? For all we know, maybe that dimension is truly where you go once you die. But I choose not to think that way. Which leads me to the next thing. Who's up there? Who is watching over us? Is there somebody watching? Maybe there isn't anybody watching. Who knows? What's destiny? What's life? All of these questions are too far away from our grasp for us to understand. I remember one time I was about to get rid of some ants where I work. And before I stepped on them, I was about to step on the ants. I said, sorry, little ants, I'm going to step on you. And I don't want to do it, but this is the place where I work and I need to maintain the cleanliness. And I was talking to the ants And my friend who worked there at the time, he was like, why are you saying sorry to the ants? And I said, because aren't we ants ourselves? And then he looked at me like I had 3 heads. He was like, yo, we are just simple employees in a dead-end job. Just kill the damn ants and get back to work. And I was like, all right. But I meant it. For the ants, they don't know anything else other than the world at their scale. So who are we to say that we ourselves aren't ants? I don't know if I said this before, but I say it again. If you have a lot of money, right, and you decided to buy an apartment, fill it with sand or dirt, and then place sweets and things and water and everything an ant will need to have a colony, and then you place ants in there in that apartment, they could go their whole life having a colony there, living, working, dying, and they could walk or roam around that apartment and feel like that's an entire planet or solar system, and they would never know the difference. They wouldn't know somebody put that there for them. That could happen with us too. What if there is a being that has an unmeasurable size, or at least to us, and this being has put this stuff here for us just because that thing or that being can just do it? There's nothing spiritual, there's nothing crazy about it. That being just can do it. And that being can decide who lives and who dies. And just like ants, we are at the mercy of whatever that being is. Does that make any sense? We could be so small because we think we're so much better than any other animal or insect here. And we think we are the final product. But maybe we're not the final product. Maybe the universe is just a big apartment. A huge apartment. That was a lot. Take it all in, people. Take it all in. Now that I established that I don't know if there is something or someone watching over us, the question becomes, should we pray? And to whom do I direct my prayers? And many people will think simple, just pray to God. And the thing is that the word God was a creation that men came up with to give to a higher power. But we don't know what that higher power is. So if there is something watching over us, him, her, or it might not call himself or herself God. That might just be a bigger being with a huge apartment. You know what I mean? Like, who are we? How arrogant are we to pretend like we know? So I don't want to say there is a higher being, but I don't want to say that there isn't. I think I keep talking in circles, and I'm trying to make the same point. I am humble enough to say that I don't know. To say that you know there is a God is arrogant, but also to say that you know that there isn't a God is also arrogant. I just choose to say that I don't know. I think that's the point that I'm trying to make. But just in case there is, I usually pray. And when I pray, I usually just start by saying, to anyone who's out there, to anyone who might be listening, please help me with this specific situation. I don't know who or to what I'm praying to, but most people agree on that there is something. Okay, now we don't know what this something is, so I just choose to not make any conclusions unless we can make it so that we get somebody back from the dead. We won't be able to know for sure and ask that person if there's something, if there's life after death, if there's a God. We don't know. I know somebody smarter than myself once said, the only thing I'm sure of is that I don't know anything. That's what I choose to go with. Anyway, guys, I guess this will do it for me this week. Sorry for the heavy and deep podcast. I didn't mean to go that deep. But I guess in the end, we're either at the top of the food chain and there's nothing else outside of this world, only darkness, and there's nothing after life. Or we are just praying ants in some dude's big apartment. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you on the next one.